Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Tunnel Vision, a show brought to you by USCFootball.com. I'm your host, Keely Eure, joined by Shotgun Spratling and Chris Trevino. I guess you could call this a Family Feud Live episode if you really wanted to, gentlemen.
Number 2, except Keely would not let us go full Family Feud, unfortunately.
Did you guys plan this before we went live? Your little bit here?
We just took
exception to you calling this Family Feud Live when you
even though we tried to last time, and now you're embracing it.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Suddenly she's all on board.
Okay, well, clearly we have a fun group tonight on board to preview USC's matchup, Colorado in Boulder. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about what we saw in practice this week, what we heard from USC's players and coaches, specifically USC's defensive staff. They were able to look at the film. Sounded like they didn't have a good time watching that film, so we'll go over that. We'll talk about USC's nose tackle depth. There's an interesting development. Something is wrong with the mic, apparently, and I will get to that soon. And we'll answer your questions wherever you're watching, Facebook, YouTube, or Periscope. Put your comments, questions on the screen, and we will answer those. And then we don't have calls today, so sorry about that. So make sure you put your comments in. But guys, like I said, apparently the audio is funky. So Shotgun, I'm going to toss it over to you so you can talk and do your thing.
It was an interesting week. Just after the struggles against Oregon State, how would USC respond? What would be what would practice be like? And it seemed pretty normal. It seemed like they bounced back. The coaching staff, the defensive coaching staff, seemed like they took it pretty hard. I mean, Todd Orlando said he beat himself up like 450 times watching the film, which is understandable because, they gave up over 500 yards in that game and really struggled against the run. And at times, the coaches put them in the right spots and they couldn't make the plays. But other times, Oregon State just out-schemed them and came up with some really nice plays, and USC really bit on some play fakes at times. The play action, Oregon State really worked that really well and was able to get those tight ends wide open with some of those crossing routes and different things. So it was definitely an interesting week to see how they would bounce back, and we'll see where they can go from here when they go to Colorado. Chris, I think the biggest development, though, is the biggest player on the team.
Mr. Maximus Gibbs.
The biggest name and the biggest player.
Big Hefty. Big Bosco. Out of St. John Bosco, national powerhouse. Yeah, that was like the most interesting thing I think that stood out from this week of practice is that, Big Max Gibbs, you can't miss him when he comes out for practice. And then Tuesday, all of a sudden he's in that white offensive jersey for the week because it is an away game. You like to remind me that every week because I forgot about that this season. But, somebody threw him a red defensive jersey and he said, put it on, and that's where his home was for the entirety of this week. Well, we don't know about Thursday, but at least for Tuesday and Wednesday, he was working exclusively with the defensive line. So that's definitely going to be interesting. USC was trying to keep that hush-hush a little bit, couldn't really tweet about it, couldn't really write about it. And then Donte confirmed it, put it out there for public record this morning in his morning presser and said, yeah, I think we needed some more size at the defensive tackle position, and yes, that's absolutely true, because obviously we've talked about it this season, but they had been absolutely rocked at that defensive, that nose tackle position. Brandon Peely lost him in the spring camp. He would have been, at the very least, a significant contributor for this defense. Jade Toya, the freshman who had a sensational spring camp, he's gone. Transfer portal out of here to UCLA across town. He would have likely been starting for this team. I think that's a pretty good assumption. And then obviously the Alabama transfer, Ishmael Sopsher, still has not played a snap for this defense. Coming off that double compartment leg syndrome surgery in the winter. So just a rough go for him, trying to get back on the field. You talked to him a little bit. Keely talked to him a little bit. You guys can talk about that. But, yeah, that position has been rocked. And so trying something out, throwing big, hefty Big Macs over there.
Yeah, the position is so thin right now that they haven't been able to adequately field a scout team, which we saw Gino Quinones over there on the defensive side last week, just giving an extra look, getting someone at that nose tackle position. So that was the big question for us, was like, is this just a scout team move? And, hey, Colorado's got some big bodies over there. They got 6'6", 345. They got some big boys at the nose tackle position. So are they just putting Max Gibbs over there to give a look? And that's what it looked like initially. He was just doing, some scout team stuff. And then eventually we see him go over with the defense. And, the first team
guys,
the first team, second team defense, and going through some stuff. And you go, could this be a little bit more than scout team? And so there were various questions asked in different ways to try to get some of the coaches to say something without us specifically asking about it. And then today it was specifically asked about. Donte Williams confirmed it, that he's moved over there, and he said, we'll see the length of it, the longevity of this move, whether it's just a week-to-week thing or if somehow they decide to throw him in, a goal line situation, you put a big body in there just to take up some room in the middle, and we'll see if something changes, if he makes some plays or something like that.
Yeah, he said it was just a week thing. When asked, is this a permanent move? He said, no, I'm just focused on Colorado right now. We're focused on this moment, trying to get over that hump. So yeah, I'm just very curious to see how much he actually does play. Like, will it be a couple goal line situations? Do they try to run him as much as he can? Obviously, he hasn't. Shotgun, you can tell me this, but he hasn't played this season, right?
He has not played.
This would be his first action, and it's a kind of a tough place to get your first action, being a man of that size up in that altitude in Colorado. So that I think that's working against him there. But I'm just going to be fascinated to see if he goes in there. And I think everyone, his defensive teammates were hyping him up a lot this week of practice. So I think it's going to be a really cool thing if he actually does get out there. He flashed some potential, so I'm excited to see what it looks like in a game.
So Chris asked me, when we see this move happen, and say he comes out in the white jersey, someone tosses him, and he takes off his pads and puts on the defensive jersey. And Chris is like, what do you think of this move? And I'm like, it's nothing. I don't think he's not going to be able to move well enough to be there and do what they want to do with it. And then we see him on scout team, and I go, that's baby Vince Wilfork over there. He is just running over people. And, people are yelling, stop, Max, stop. When he gets when he pushes back the center because he's running guys into the quarterback. And you go, okay, maybe there's something here, because it's just his raw strength. And that was one of the things that I wasn't sure if he had enough to play that nose tackle position, because, he's just a big kid naturally, but it seems like the work he's put in the weight room, he's lost, 50 pounds, like what Donte Williams said. So maybe this is an option for USC, and I don't know if it's a long-term option for him or not, but with the depth concerns they have at that position right now, it might be the best thing for them. And, Vic Soto was asked about it. He wasn't trying to give anything away. He said it's the same guys. It's not like an NFL free agency. You can't go grab a guy. Except that's kind of what it's been for the defensive coaches. They were able to go and say, can we take your biggest guy and put him over here? You guys aren't using him, right?
Yeah,
we'll take him. We'll take him.
We can find a use for him.
Yeah, sorry. Okay, I'm jumping in, guys. I'm trying to fix the audio behind the scenes. We can't hear it. I can hear it both on YouTube and on Facebook, so I think it's a stream issue. I'm going to try and restart everything, see if it's going to work. If not, I think this is going to be it for television for tonight. I'm sorry, the issues. Of course, it happens when Ryan, the engineer, is out of town. So we're going to try this. I'm going to try my best to play IT over here. So we'll be back. Everyone, cross your fingers. Okay, goodbye.